Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon, another tournament match. For those of you who are not aware of the tournament, it's a tournament tactical wise, 3v3 conquest, no income, 3000 starting points. So let's say you subtract 300 starting points from each team because they have to have 3 CVs. That's an affordable 27 or available 2700 points that these guys have to work with. What we have today is the Devil's Brigade in Blue 4 versus across the pond on Red 4. And these guys are facing off against each other on gunboat diplomacy. Now, since you don't have access to the US or the USSR in this game, there is usually somebody who's playing Israel, but let's see if that's actually the case here. Yep, we have Random American playing Israel with Ram, Reki, Bordelas and Zelda. I'm seeing the Nun over here, Mahbet. By the way, some people have been saying, well, you should exclude Israel from the tournament. No, I won't. Reason being, you have a match as either team against every other team on your group. Which means that, yes, the enemy has the chance to use Israel, but the very next time that you play them, you have the chance to play Israel, and that negates the advantage that you have. And I am not going to be changing these rules mid-tournament, so stop asking and stop saying, oh, you need to be changing the rules, you need to be disqualifying this nation. Nope, not gonna happen. So live with it or stop watching. As for Red 4, I'm seeing the WZ551, so the Chinese are here. Not an unusual pick if you're playing gunboat diplomacy, and these guys over here are probably gonna try to get in there. This is Futuneri. So the attack marker by Creed is gonna get rushed by Creed's, I think, 185 KTs. And it is the non-naval variant, by the way, so there is no need for naval units. I haven't actually seen any of the teams use naval units yet. I think that would be a really refreshing tactic to see if they're going to be playing with that. Now over on the left, or well, let's say the left and the right, Alpha and Charlie, usually it's very, very standoffish and poorly defended. And I think this time around it's going to be no different. Because it's a very difficult area to cross, and it's a great way to lose a lot of units, which is of course something that neither party is particularly interested in. Now, I'm seeing a double stack of CVs here, one over there probably going to hold. This Nun might go to Charlie, but where exactly the CV here from Labonte is going, I don't know. The Lynx AH1. So it's anybody's guess where they're going to head. Maybe to Gulf? Now it looks like Rothbard has a ton of units over here. That's Norwegian, isn't it? Including mortars. Panzerbill. This is going to be amusing. There's going to be one big clash between these guys. Labonte is going to try and capture these buildings here. So we're going to see an early clash, I suppose, between Labonte and Creed. And over here, Labonte is going to capture it as well. Rothbard's going to put the CV there. And Creed's going to try and capture the buildings here, which will lead him to clash with Rothbard over there as he's trying to get those buildings. Gentlemen, agreement for no helo flanks. Okay. Or are the openers? Interesting. Maybe that's a message to me, as I cannot see the chat, but it is possible that these guys actually put that here. Helo flanking on this map is a possibility. You can fly from India across the water to Bravo, or similarly across or around Echo, and you can try to get in there. Now, speaking of trying to get in there, it looks like the British are out in an early helo rush. We have Lynx AH7s and Lynx AH3 as escorts, trying to drop off and take terrain quickly. And it looks like the Lynx 3 are having a particularly bad day. They both got shot down by the TY-90, but the last, I think, Stinger from the Lynx also took down the TY-90. The damage is done, though. A Lynx 3 is an expensive unit to replace. We have Winter Sakura with the OT-65, Moderna, OT-65, oh sorry, OT-62. And here comes Futuneri with all those 551s. For now, the NM45s are trying to keep the enemy at bay. And since the Chinese utterly lack any HGM infantry, it's going to be hard for Futuneri to take these guys out unless they get closer. And that's exactly what they're doing. So now the Tankashushu are perfectly capable of using the PW-80s to try and wipe out these things. And fire at anything else. And they actually took out a Merkava 2A. The Rov-8 did survive, but they are a bit stunned from their random destruction of that tank. And look at all this. Rothbard is charging across the river with Volkskamjäger running right into the Panzerjägerie from Creed over here. And it looks like the transports are getting all knocked out by the Spike MR team over here from Creed. One by one they're falling. But are they going to be able to sustain the position once they've pushed out the Panzerjägerie? If at all. Good use of the smoke screen over here. That's probably courtesy of the mortars here. And M106. Volkskamjäger are pushing in. And the mortars are now trying to suppress the Panzerjägerie a bit more. The Volkskamjäger are also going to have to push out the Erics that are in these buildings. That's going to be challenging for them. It's going to be pretty rough. How's REDFOR doing over here? Defensive units. Not quite sure why you'd want to have Vizatkari in the building over here. I'd say ATGMs, but okay. To each their own. We easily have a Moderna defending that flank. That's a pretty heavy investment for a unit that's just going to be sitting there for most of the time. Blue 4 has opted for a different approach, using a Macbeth, which, by the way, still has its weapon turned on. A Bedouin team, a Dorban LR, and, well, that's about it. Pretty risky play here as well. They have their infantry CV, and the transport that's just right next to it. This thing is usually going to get spotted first. And the Hapak, well, if this thing gets shot at, the Hapak might die as well. So pretty risky there. And by the way, the Hapak aren't even in concealment. Now the 551s from Futaniri have managed to bypass the Gurkha and the Royal Marines. And they're now actually being pretty threatening to the Barkhan over here. If Futaniri can get through there. Oh, HGM coming in. 1 551 down. The Milan team can try once more. But it is the Dorban LR on the other side that takes out the 551s. Now the initial offense over here did not succeed. Panzerjägerie have even survived, but only just. It's just 2 guys left. And I think that that was a big investment from Rothbard. So that does put blue at a slight disadvantage. I'm actually waiting for a CV from red to come in here. 1, 2, 3, 4 CVs on the map for red that I know of. So this means that red, if they want to win this fight, they're going to have to push out blue 4 and kill off this CV. That's going to stop them from losing any points. Judging by the amount of units that they have available, I think that's possible. And that would allow REDFOR to push blue out of here. And actually blue's not sticking around and waiting for that to happen. Rothbard's packing up the CV and getting the hell out. Random Americans trying to bring in more Zelda with more infantry, hoping to keep those 185 KTs at bay. These things can do 90 kph off-road and of course 150 on-road, and the XA-180s can do 100. So, arguably the 180 is a bit faster, but the 185s are using the road. And they're currently not targeting the XA-180 with the command. No, they're targeting the Royal Marines. And there's another CV from Labonte which is making an evac here. Royal Marines are having a very rough time trying to defend against everything that's coming for them. Blue 4 is really getting pushed back. Let that also be a lesson as to that Israel is not omnipotent and is not a guarantee that you win this fight. Interesting choice here to bring in a Perret. If I would see a Perret on this map, or if I was using one, I would probably put it somewhere over here where it has this gigantic, very, very much area denial effect. But over here, close to the town, I don't see it. It has 6 frontal armor, which is enough to sustain some damage from the X-81s or 185s for a while. But not for very long. Those things just have to close in. Volkskamjäger by Rothbard dropped off. That's from the 186 NOs. Here come the Zeldas from Random American. And the one, and my 8T is actually flanking. The stalwart with anti-air is coming in quickly. And these guys don't exactly have good optics. What can they see? Not much. But it looks like Blue 4 has really nothing at the moment, unless that stalwart comes in to defend with. There goes the Lynx AH-1. That's the autocannons at work here. REDFOR still is not bringing in a CV. They might be out of points. Attack marker from Creed. You might be asking for resupply. Seeing as there's a Kolos from Winter Sakura coming in. Kivati moving in, pushing back against the Panzerjägeri. Whatever happened to that anti-air team? I'm seeing a distinct lack of ammunition on the MI-AT. And I'm also seeing a distinct lack of that anti-air team. Now we have a couple of stalwarts from Labonte, but they're not offloaded, so the Gurkhas are getting killed off inside the transport. It still has 150 rounds left, and now they're ready. These things do not have any armor. And there she goes. The MI-AT is down. A couple of Lynx AA-7s came to rush in. Not that they could do much, but, well, maybe serve as target practice. And the Stormer eventually was not needed. But there is another MI-8T, again from Creed, already looking to fight another unit. Already used their rocket pods. They've taken quite a beating, and they have expended half their ammunition on the autocannons. Givati against Eric's is not going to work out well. Especially if they get assistance from the MI-AT. Let alone from a PGZ-88. You don't want an anti-air gun firing air infantry. The Pere has been detected and is now taking heavy fire. This is not going to work out for the Pere. Get the thing out of here if you want it to live. Tanker Shushu pushing up. ZZC-55 pushing up. Kurnus flies in and drops... What's it dropping on? No, not the anti-air. I think it didn't quite get the chance to completely accurately drop there. The Panzerjägeri took a hit, but they're not dead. Another CV from Rothbard's being pulled away. The Pere fires, but in its panicked state is not very accurate. And I'm not even sure what it was trying to target. I think it's still the ZZC, but that is just not going anywhere. Now, the interesting thing about this situation is that REDFOR has the potential to capture these sectors. But I'm once again getting the suspicion that REDFOR does not have any points, and as such cannot be... Well, they just can't capture these sectors. So instead, they're going to be forced to push. Which is not really a position that you want to find yourself in, especially since Blue 4 already has a 61-point lead. They need to neutralize Golf or Charlie. Well, or both, but I think they're going to start with Golf. Another MI-AT comes in. It's been rearmed. It's been a little bit repaired, but refueling was apparently not available. Yeah, the fuel's turned off on the Kolos, which is empty, by the way. Shishu are firing at the Noon transport. And killing it. That Stormer is still on station this time around. Stormer engaging, completely missing the mark, but blowing a big hole into the landscape over here. And there goes the MI-AT. Tanker Shushu are now getting shot at by nothing less than a recoilless rifle vehicle. These have a range of 1750 versus the 1400 from the Tanker Shushu, so they're being forced to either hold their fire or withdraw. And a smokescreen has been put up by Red. They're trying to get into the buildings where they're going to get greeted by Gurkhas. But they will also be running into 2 command infantry units. I don't exactly know why Bluefor has 2 commands in here. Another buff to the smoke screens coming up. The 551s are looking to rush. Another Eric's is coming in from the side. They know where the CV is. So I can expect those mortars to stop firing smoke and start firing HE barrages. Units are being shuffled around. Gurkha is now in direct contact with the Erics. HE shells landing on the last known position of the CV. But that's now where the Erics are. So we have a red on red condition here. Mahbet is trying to keep another Eric squad away, very successfully as well. That list leaves Red with his 1 Eric's group on the attack, which is being surrounded by Gurkhas and officers from the HQ section. Come on, that Stormer could be very useful right about now. Kurnus drops a missile onto the Hawk, hits, then tries to fly in and drops a bomb, but it does not drop the bombs, and instead it gets shot down after having been stunned. The Erics are still taking fire, and it looks like the Mahbet was the one who actually did the kill there. The CVs both survived by some miracle. Come on, REDFOR. Just bring that Moderna out to play. Especially as these guys have now shot down the Kurnus. Yes, the Perret is still there. But put a smokescreen around it, and you're going to have a harder time using that Perret properly. Stormer trying to fend off against the 551s and just wiping them out casually, one by one. It did take a bit of a scratch from the return fire from the ZPT-90 autocannon. Random American left the game. Okay, that's either a disconnect or he hit Alt F4. I'm not sure which one it is. Perret moving back. They don't have any fobs, so any resupply is going to have to come out of vehicles, which at this point they might not be able to afford. PGZ is out of fuel. The 551 is ready, but doesn't really have that much that it can currently target because they don't know exactly where the enemy is. I'd say just keep using those mortars and start farming away at this block. You might hit something. What can Red see? Not much. Just that one Bardelas transport. What can Blue see? A lot. They can see the PGZ, they can see the 551, they can see the Z9A, which has also taken a severe beating. What you got over there? That's a recon, I think. Yep. Bedouins have spotted the OT-65, but not vice versa. They know where the mortars are, but they're not doing much against them. Another Z9. Oh, so they do have points. Why is Futuniri spending it on helos and infantry? That's 25 a pop per helicopter. Plus the infantry that's inside. That's, I'm assuming, Lijan. Lijan 90. That's, what is that, 30 points per infantry unit? So that's 110 points there. Buy 1 CV. Start capping hotel. The Moderna is now going to be joining this fight. And with the exception of the Perret and the Dorban, Bluefor really does not have much that they can throw against that unit. They have spotted the Bardelas and the NTR inside. So it's going to be either run or get killed. It looks like Lebonte has opted for run, but with a stunned unit, that is hard. Here comes the Z9A. See, I don't quite get what REDFOR is going for, because if they can buy these kind of units, they can also get a CV. 35 points. This is a combination that's worth 60. So it's 120. Now, they've been using the Zihuiban, which either comes with a cheapish transport or a helo, but they should be able to afford one. So instead of doing the, I'd say, wiser thing and just capping a territory, they insist, seemingly, on pushing. And they're not even all pushing at the same time. We've got the Moderna on the front line now. The second Moderna is also coming up. The Panzerjäger are going in without support. They're not making this one larger effort. Now they're all moving up. The Z9As are rushing. Despite having taken severe damage, they can still pose as a bit of a threat. If nothing else, they'll pose as a way for the Stormer to lose some missiles. I think the Hapak have once again been spotted, even though they're not allowed to fire. Are you... He was pushing in with the CV. Gurkhas versus the Panzerjäger. Once these Legion 90s pop up, it's going to be a very hard time for Blue to keep it onto this territory. And I just don't get why they didn't pack up these guys with a transport and run them away. Because if you can keep that CV over here, you have a bit more chance. There, the CV's now on the move, and that puts REDFOR at a +2. And I think it's going to snowball from here. Because once they lose this CV... Oh, there is another point, and there is another CV on the move. Rothbard is trying to get another CV into this sector to stop the bleeding. The Stormer is still trying to keep these vehicles at bay, and successfully so. But against a Moderna, this thing has 12 AP. The Perret has 27. But they're pretty sorely lacking spotters for these guys. Yep, and REDFOR has a pretty good idea about where that CV just happened to arrive. And once again, REDFOR is making life very difficult on themselves. Let's say that they hadn't bought the Legion 90. Right? They hadn't bought these. In which case, you could have had 2 Legion 90 squads turned into 1 CV. You park it in Echo. That gives you a +1 up until the point where you're able to put it into Echo. Or sorry, into Gulf. At which point you get a +2 because you're neutralizing Blue Force +2. REDFOR is making life unnecessarily hard on themselves. And I can't fathom why. There is one more explanation, and that's that they ran out of CVs, but I'm only seeing 1 command infantry here from Futuniri. That is it. Arguably, you could still move 1 CV away from India and drive that over to Echo. Sorry, to Gulf. And you'd still be getting +1. Because you're giving up India, but you're depriving Blue for of a +2. So both teams here are making some, at least as far as I'm concerned, really curious choices. The Perret is trying to... What did you just blow up? That might have been a Moderna. So the Perret actually killed the Moderna, but then died. Probably due to the Panzerjäger. At this point, it is going to be GG for the Commander Plus, and with that, it's going to be GG for Blue Force, because they're running out of units. They definitely ran out of resupplies. They don't have any more points to bring in new units. And even the Hapak... has it been spotted? No, it's not been spotted yet, but it's only a matter of time. So I think Blue Force is just going to give up. So curious choices on both sides. Very curious. But then again, this tournament forces you to make some curious choices. Although, with these, I am very interested to see what the decision-making process was for Red. Anyway, that's all for this tournament match. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see how the teams are doing, you can find a link down below in the description. That's where you can find the scores, how the teams are doing, what the groups are, and what groups are, or rather, what teams are eventually going to move on to the elimination phase, which is the phase that follows onto the group phase. For now, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to support me on Patreon, link down below in the description. And I shall see you guys soon for another video.